What's going on, everyone? So, is this really Steph Curry's last year with the Golden State Warriors? I think it's a real possibility. Now, I know some people will look at, oh, he just signed that extension. So that means he's staying. Not necessarily, right? If he is to be traded next season, it makes more sense for him to sign the extension now because that gives him the guaranteed money in case something happens this year, right? But also, it gives the insurance for whatever team goes and trades for him when the time comes, whether it's at the trade deadline this season, which I don't think so. I think Steph will give the Warriors kind of this last, like, hey, this is the last chance, this is the last year, figure it out. Look, and Steph has said he would love to retire a Warrior, but he's also said he doesn't want to be on a bottom feeding team. Right? He doesn't want to be on a bad team every year. He's not getting younger. His career is going to be over before we know it, right? We're going to wake up one day and Steph Curry is, even if he plays till he's 40, it's only 3-4 years from now, right? So, like, it's going to come and it's going to come quick, right? So, Steph, you can imagine, is probably looking at it as like, I want to win, right? And the Warriors are kind of all over the place on just what direction do they want to go. They don't want to trade Kuminga for Lauri Markkanen, which, like, look, I wasn't big on Lauri Markkanen to the Warriors, but still, it's like, well, if you're just going to lose Jonathan Kuminga, you're not willing to give him a max, you're not willing to do anything, like, then why not trade him for a guy that you clearly had belief in, you clearly thought was a piece that could made sense for the Warriors? Not just that, but look, Steph Curry won an NBA Finals and won an NBA championship with Andrew Wiggins as his second best player, right? I mean, granted, Jordan Poole was excellent that year and, Clay was better and stuff, but still, like, Andrew Wiggins was the guy that, there was an argument, should he have won Finals MVP or co-Finals MVP with Steph and all that, right? There's also the allure and draw of LeBron and Steph teaming up, which I believe if that team up happens, it's with the Lakers. I just think, one, I don't think LeBron wants to leave the Lakers. Rich Paul clearly doesn't want LeBron to leave the Lakers. Two, I think the Lakers have a better chance of winning an NBA championship than the Warriors do, right? Like, the Warriors could just sign LeBron. That's absolutely a possibility. But LeBron, Steph, and Draymond Green isn't as good as LeBron, Steph, and Anthony Davis, right? Plus, the Warriors are the ones that have, like, the young talent, right? Like, Jonathan Kuminga could potentially be a star, right? Like, they're the ones that have the young talent, have the picks, have the stuff. Like, I could see them just basically taking everything from the Lakers, right? Here you go. Thank you, Steph. And they would do it for Steph because he's the greatest player that they've ever had in the history and completely changed that franchise forever, right? Like, if Steph wants to go to the Lakers, he'll go to the Lakers, right? If he wants to team up with LeBron, he'll team up with LeBron. But, you kind of add in, like, what do the Warriors look like? Now, and look, I think the Warriors are better this year than they were last year, but how much? Are they good enough to win a championship? I don't think so. I think they're still borderline a play-in team. Maybe they can squeeze into that 5 or 6 if Steph can be superhuman, right? But now you look at that. Steph has talked a lot about LeBron and teaming up with LeBron and playing with LeBron and all that stuff, right? Like, usually when those narratives are going around, it's usually LeBron that's throwing out the subtleties or throwing out the headlines and stuff and kind of stirring the pot. LeBron's been pretty quiet about it compared to what we've seen him in previous years with guys that he was interested in. And Steph's the one that's out here like, man, I really hope we have more team ups and, we be on the same team. And I love playing with LeBron, talk about their history and their rivalry and all that stuff, right? Like, I think it's a real threat. Again, I don't think it happens this season, but I think in the offseason, also LeBron was willing to, basically restructure his contract and take a significant discount for Klay Thompson or DeMar DeRozan and Valanciunas. You don't think he'd do the same thing for Steph Curry? I mean, of course he would, right? So LeBron has flexibility. The Lakers have a bunch of salary coming off the books. Like, the Lakers want Steph. I think and Steph wants the Lakers. I think it'll happen. So it does put pressure, in my opinion, on the Warriors to mainly pick a lane, right? Like, pick a direction. Like, either you believe in Kuminga or you don't. I understand Kuminga is a bit of a risk, right? And I understand you're coming off of a Jordan Poole incident where you thought Jordan Poole was going to be the next Steph Curry, and turned out he was a bust, right? Like, he's awful. And you gave him a max contract, and now you have the new CBA, which makes it even worse. Like, I get all of that. But what are your other options here? You either believe in Kuminga, or if you don't, trade him to a team that does, and go get a player that makes more sense now, right? Pick a lane. It's like the Warriors are trying to operate on two separate timelines, and it's not going to work. You can't operate on two different timelines. Eventually, those timelines are going to go in different directions. They're not going to connect, and they're trying to go on this like youthful path, and they believe Kuminga and Pod and all these guys are their future. Okay, that's fine. Then hit the reset button. Do the greatest player you've ever had in your franchise a service, and remove the Lakers from the conversation, right? Because I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, you're a Laker fan. Of course you want him on the Lakers. No, like, remove the Lakers. Trade him where? Trade him Miami. Trade him, ask Steph, where do you want to go? Where do you want to play? And go get as much young talent and draft picks and stuff as you can from that team. Lakers aren't the only team that would trade for Steph. Of course, there's other teams that would trade for Steph. So, like, again, I would try to do right by Steph. Talk to him, pull him aside. Hey, buddy, like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Like, what team do you value? Is it the Lakers or is it somebody else? Can we convince you to go elsewhere, right? Like, because I'm sure the Lakers aren't their favorite choice in trade partners. But also, it begs the question, if you're the Warriors, right? Like, is there this sense of urgency? Because the Warriors don't really seem like they have urgency. There's been talks again, Lauri Markkanen, Brandon Ingram. Now, the recent reports have been Jimmy Butler potentially going to the Lakers or going to the Warriors. Sure, is Jimmy Butler the answer? Right? Like, I get, like, Steph and Jimmy are kind of around the same age, so, like, sure, but I don't think that that's the answer. Right? Like, look, no one would want to play Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry in the playoffs. No one. Right? I mean, that would be absolutely tough. But also, there's a lot of questions with Jimmy Butler. Right? Jimmy Butler is a guy that, tends to not take the regular season too serious. Right? Jimmy Butler's a guy that, will kind of take nights off. It feels like. As much as he likes to pretend like playoff Jimmy isn't a real thing, playoff Jimmy is definitely a real thing. So it's just like, if you're the Warriors, you almost have to push your chips in for Steph. Right? Again, it defaults back to pick a lane. Pick a direction. Like, do you want to rebuild? Fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's an argument, I believe even bigger argument to be made, that that's what you should do. And imagine the return that you'd get for Steph. Now, you wouldn't get a return as if he was 24, but you'd still get a pretty good return. Right? You're still going to get multiple picks, still going to get some young players, still going to get things that make sense for, now in the future. Like, I think that that's the approach that you take. Like, hit the reset button. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be honest and upfront. Ask Steph. Look, maybe Steph says, like, hey, you know what? I want to stay on the team. I don't care. Like, even if you want to hit the rebuild button, that's fine. I'll write it out. I don't want to leave. Then good. Okay. At least you communicated that to him. At least there's that conversation. At least now you can start making decisions and moves that clearly indicate a rebuild. Right? Because that's the thing right now. Like, even some of their moves that they're making don't make sense if you're rebuilding. So for those that might be like, oh, well, how do you know that they haven't already done that? Because of the moves and decisions that the Warriors have made. It clearly means that they haven't talked to Steph about that. Right? Like, again, it's very possible Steph just stays a Warrior. Right? But I think it's more and more likely, and unless the Warriors just are great and come out of left field and, they're fighting for a top 4 seed and it's like, oh man, maybe, they make the conference finals or something. I think that the divorce is sooner rather than later. Right? I think next offseason, I think this time next year, Steph will be in another jersey. Will that be the Lakers? Will it be another team? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out, right? But I don't see Steph spending another 2-3 years on a rebuild, right? I don't see Steph going like, oh, okay, like maybe we can contend again when I'm 40. Like, this contract might be his last contract. He might not even sign a new contract. Look, if Steph wanted to play longer than these last 2 years, then he should just do what LeBron did. Let the contract expire and then sign a new one for however long you want to play. Right? Because of the new, was it over 36 rule or whatever, where, you can only sign a 1 year extension. That's why he only signed a 1 year extension. But if you sign a new contract, you can sign whatever, right? So he could do what LeBron does, do 1+1s the whole time. So does this signal that he's only going to play these last 2 years? I think if he's contending for a championship, like say he wins a championship in that year, he becomes a free agent, I think he'll come back. But it's also very possible that that's the year he hangs it up, right? Maybe he goes out on a high note, whatever. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? No, do you think that, this is it? This is the last hurrah for Steph Curry. He is gone. Do you think, no, he's going to stay around? He's going to retire a Warrior. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.